Aristotle Socrates Onassis was a Greek shipping magnate who came from a wealthy and influential family. Born in 1906 in the city of Smyrna, which is now known as Izmir in Turkey, Onassis was the son of a wealthy tobacco merchant. His family had a long history of successful business ventures, and this undoubtedly played a role in shaping Onassis's entrepreneurial spirit and his drive to succeed. Onassis inherited a significant amount of wealth from his family, which he used to start his own shipping company. He quickly rose to prominence in the industry, and by the mid-20th century, he had become one of the wealthiest men in the world. His success in the shipping industry allowed him to amass a vast fortune, which he used to acquire an impressive portfolio of real estate. Today, we will take on the journey to his real property empire that he shared with his first wife, Tina, his children, Alexander and Christina, his second wife, Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, and now the last surviving heiress, Athena Onassis. But most of all, we might know his life together with Jackie, their multiple holidays and wedding at the private island Skorpios, and the famous socialite life in Mayfair house. What happened to their old money mansions? And where does his single granddaughter reside? These and more you will see in this impressive video. Let's move on. London Mayfair. The famous London home that belonged to the Onassis family once again was the topic for discussion when it was listed on the real estate market for almost $30 million, yet was snapped by a Saudi millionaire for $24 million. As it was reported, the historic house was a gift to his daughter. The stunning apartment in Mayfair, which was a primary spot for hosting parties and celebrations by Jackie Kennedy Onassis, Princess Lee Radziwill, and opera diva Maria Callas, features 5 bedrooms, 3 reception rooms, 4 en-suite bathrooms, a family kitchen, an entrance hall, a bar, guest powder room, library, large balcony, and south-facing terrace. The ambassadorial house once was under the name of Aristotle's sister, Artemis Onassis. The space proved to be the perfect venue for lavish, high-society parties, with the Onassis family regularly hosting events when they owned the property in the 60s and 70s. Its grandeur is accentuated by its high ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows, spacious rooms, and a south-facing terrace overlooking the building's rear facade, and is the only apartment in the building with a large balcony facing Grosvenor Square. However, the apartment's history goes back to 1946, when the first Viscount Waverley, Sir John Anderson, moved in and became its first owner. It is known Sir John welcomed Maria Callas to her first performance at the Royal Opera House in 1952 and championed the opera singer's visits to the Covent Garden Opera House. Amazingly, later Callas had a scandalous connection with Aristotle Onassis, becoming the trigger of his divorce from Tina Onassis in 1960. The relationship drama didn't continue too long, and the Mayfair building became the socialite spot. In 1968, he shocked the world again by marrying Jacqueline Kennedy on Scorpios, the family's island. Kennedy historian and journalist Randy Taraborelli claims that Jackie Kennedy, who was obsessed with her family's safety after her husband was assassinated in 1963, used the residence to closely monitor her daughter Caroline Kennedy while she was studying in London. With all of the conveniences offered by apartments, their life wasn't limited by the city properties. The Onassis family could afford the whole land in the Ionian Sea. Scorpios Island. In 1963, Onassis bought Scorpios, a small barren and arid island opposite the Greek island of Lefkada. He transforms it into a private earthly paradise, planting trees, building guest houses and harbors, and creating beaches and a farm. He does not subscribe to the principle of living in obscurity. On the contrary, he constantly seeks out the public spotlight. The international press went wild as Onassis' floating palace, and the yacht Christina O hosted the world's most famous politicians, businessmen, and artists, with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Prince Rainier of Monaco among them. Bought by shipping tycoon for a modest 3.5 million drachmas, which is about $12,000, the island has hosted numerous lavish parties throughout the years, and was famously where Onassis tied the knot with his love, Jacqueline Kennedy, in 1968. The couple exchanged their vows in a small Orthodox ceremony in front of 40 guests, with the bride wearing Valentino and her sister Lee Radziwill being matron of honor. But before the island could serve as a holiday hideaway, lots of costly work has been done. Onassis imported 200 different types of trees, brought over sand from the island of Salamina, and bought a mountain on another island for the water supply. He also built a family compound of 3 residences, a helipad, and a small marina, in addition to harbor facilities, to accommodate his beloved yacht, the Christina O. The further fate of an island is unsurprising. After it had been passed to Athena Onassis, it was resold for $100 million and is expected to become a mega resort with rental rates expected to exceed $1 million per week, accommodating up to 50 guests. The project was designed by Norway-based architectural firm Snohetta, known for projects such as the Bibliotheca Alexandrina in Egypt, Europe's first underwater restaurant, and Le Mans headquarters in Paris. However, the chapel from the Onassis family remains on the island as a reminder of its past according to the Greek shipping magnate's last will. Also still standing is the Pink House, a villa built for Kennedy Onassis, where the First Lady spent most of her time on the island. 1040 Fifth Avenue, New York. While Jackie had access to multiple Onassis mansions and the private island, she had her personal space on the entire 15th floor of 1040 Fifth Avenue, which she bought for $200,000. Among the apartment buildings on Fifth Avenue covered in limestone, 1040 is one of the tallest. The imposing 18-story building boasts one of the avenue's most recognizable rooflines. The canopied entrance features a lot of sidewalk landscaping and very lovely cast-iron doors. With the exception of a few carved features at the 5th level, the facade, which has undergone numerous renovations, is rather simple. Only 27 apartments make up the huge building, with the one of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, who remained there for 30 years until her death in 1994. The apartment had 5 bathrooms, 3 fireplaces, 2 terraces, and a library with a view of Central Park. In a way, her home was furnished as we would have expected. There are rows and rows of books and lovely antiques and bibelots. The contemporary fabric used on both the sofa and the dining table still gives us the vintage feeling of old money mansion interior design. The fabric was designed by Design Works, a textile firm located in Bedford-Stuyvesant that trained people in the craft of textile design and production. The company, created by an agency that was founded by Senator Robert Kennedy, was championed by Onassis, who in fact recruited Leslie Tillett to teach and mentor the Design Works employees. The sofa featured large feather, a print evocative of African textiles that was printed on cotton duck. The colorway was black and hot rust. The dining table was covered in fish head plaid, an exuberant geometric print of brown, white, and coral. In later years, the historic apartment was first renovated by David Koch, then the world's 33rd richest man, who bought the 15th floor for almost $10 million after Jackie's passing. As he told in the interview, the compound was getting smaller as his kids were growing, and they finally moved out, giving way to hedge fund manager Glenn Dubin, who paid $30 million to take up this same residence. Not bad, don't you think? Redgate Farm, Martha's Vineyard. In 1979, after Aristotle passed away, Jackie decided to build a new house called Redgate Farm in Martha's Vineyard. It was her dream ever since she was 10 years old, to go down by the sandy shore and live by the booming blue sea as the seagulls flutter around. That ambition was realized in 1979, about 40 years later, as she had come to be known following her marriages to shipping tycoon Aristotle Onassis and President John F. Kennedy. A 2-story guest house and a typical Cape Cod-style home were built for Jackie by architect Hugh Newell Jacobson, and they were finished in 1981. To landscape the estate, she asked her friend Rachel Bunny Mellon, who had created the White House Rose Garden during Jackie's tenure as First Lady. She only spent a little more than $1 million on the land, and then another $3.1 million on building the house. The main premise covers a vast lot for a house ready to throw a large party. There's also a 4-bedroom guest house, a pool, and a tennis court. The property stretches across a mile of beach. Perhaps most importantly of all, every room in the house, apart from the dining room, boasts magnificent views of that booming blue sea from her childhood dreams. Jackie loved everything about the house and related activities. The old stone walls, the blue heron that lived in the pond behind the dunes, setting lobster pots in the pond and building a fairy treehouse for her grandchildren. Her daughter Caroline later helped the estate to evolve yet further into a true sanctuary for native plants and trees, animals and birds. But Caroline was about to build up her own dream space and eventually sold the property to the Martha's Vineyard Land Bank Commission and the Sheriff's Meadow Foundation in September 2020 for $27 million. The Chateau de la Croe. Christina Onassis, as the primary heiress of the Onassis Empire after the death of her billionaire father, was used to living in luxury, but without certain tragedies and spontaneous decisions. Her story started in the large mansion, or even called palace, the Chateau de la Croe, in the south of France at Cap d'Antibes between Nice and Cannes. Famous royals like King Leopold of Belgium, King Umberto of Italy, and the Duke and Duchess of Windsor had once called it home and used it as their summer residence. In the spring of 1951, Christina was just a baby when her mother, Tina Livanos Onassis, aged 21, and father Aristotle Onassis, then 45, moved there. The villa was built in 1927 in Victorian style by the English aristocrat Sir William Pomeroy Burton, general manager of the Associated newspaper. The architect was Armand Albert Rateau, who built the property on the 7-acre plot that extends all the way down to the sea. Feeling that his wife Tina was too young and inexperienced to handle the obligations of such a vast and elegant property, Onassis immediately hired a large staff and a manager to oversee his domestic affairs once they moved into the mansion. Onassis wanted his wife to be with Christina and her older brother Alexander as much as possible. Christina received all she requested, and generosity from her father was showered upon her. There were enough magicians, clowns, games, and other entertainment to fill a circus, and Christina and her friends could run about the chateau's acres of well-kept lawns. The property ran straight down to the sea for playing in the surf and on the beach, and it had an Olympic-sized pool, lots of fountains, and gardens. King Saud of Saudi Arabia, a contentious business associate of her father's, sent Christina and Alexander a variety of pets, including a horse, 2 French poodles, a Great Dane, a goose, and 2 gazelles. As Christina grew older, there were other fabled homes, other luxuries. A penthouse on the fashionable Avenue Foch in Paris, a ranch in Montevideo, Uruguay, a townhouse on Sutton Place in Manhattan, a villa on the outskirts of Athens, her father's own private island, the storybook Skorpios, in the middle of the Ionian Sea. The Onassis fleet, under her direction, has remained profitable, and she commanded the respect of the management of her corporations, earning somewhere in the $800 million range. The only heiress to the family's millions, Athena Onassis also used to live in luxurious apartments, selling out the famous private island. Wellington, Florida Horse Farm. Athena Onassis is the granddaughter of a well-known Greek shipping magnate, and as such, she's inherited a good fortune. She likes to live in opulent homes just as her family did. She married Alvaro de Miranda Neto, and the two bought a fancy house in Florida. But once they split up and got divorced, Athena Onassis listed the house for sale. The Wellington estate, Athena Onassis's property, is undoubtedly worth our brief tour. The expanded property has 3,711 square feet. The estimated cost of the property, which she and her husband purchased jointly, was around $2 million. A peek of the interior of the residence was included in some of the available images. The home's master suite had a walk-in closet. The office area was visible, with pictures and honors adorning the walls. The Palm Beach Polo and Country Club golf course is not far from the residence. Additionally, the house is near a wealthy international riding community. Luxurious features of the house include an open-floor layout, large walls, a jacuzzi, and a pool. Glass doors are a great addition to the beauty of the house. Because of her lavish lifestyle, horses are one of her interests. All of the riding competitions she participates in and wins demonstrate her passion for this hobby. Cornetto K, her favorite horse, was raised by her alone and hasn't been sold since the divorce. She is not, however, uprooting herself and leaving the exclusive Wellington neighborhood completely. A 5.6-acre property in Grand Prix Village, next to the Winter Equestrian Festival showgrounds, is also owned by Onassis. According to Palm Beach property records, she paid $12 million in 2014 for the property, which has a 20-stall barn, an all-weather ring, and groom's quarters. There are more stories to tell about the Onassis family, but we are happy you have watched our video till the end, and we wonder if you like the course of our real estate journey, from London Mayfair house to Jackie's dream house, and finally, to the last Onassis Florida horse farm. Do you want more videos about famous family empires? Leave your comments and ideas. We want to hear from you. Thank you for staying with our channel.